And so Ms. Tasha Hall Garrison from the city of College Park, and all things are relative, all things are related, as we are neighboring cities. I'm gonna let her tell you what's going on, her impeccable background, what she brings to the table, what she has already done and will continue to do, and how we are working collaboratively together. With further ado, you have the mic.
Thank you. Let me bring up my presentation. 1 second. Okay, so I just wanted to give an overview of the things going on here for College Park. So I am Tasha Hall Garrison. I am the Community Development Administrator for City of College Park. In short, what that means is that I oversee quality of life issues. So I also oversee code compliance, which was formerly known as our code enforcement. And then I see non-infrastructure grants. I have been employed with the City of College Park since 2015 through the Department of Economic Development. And in starting June 2015, I really connected with Old National in the South Side area. I am from Valdosta, Georgia originally, and Old National and Godby Road just felt like home for me. So I wanted to make sure that I saw inclusive and equitable development come into the area, as well as to really take a community approach. When it comes to economic development, our job is really to attract and to keep the business within the city. A lot of times with economic developers, they focus on big fish. They focus on the Amazons and the Walmarts. But when you focus on the community, 75% of your small businesses are already in your community. So think about it. If I have $1 and I invest in that 75 cents, I'm going to gain more money over time compared to if I put all of my investment into only 1/4. So that's really the focus that I had going into economic development. To date, I have raised about 1.5 million in federal grant funding towards the city and its initiatives. And I'll talk about some more of the projects kind of as we go along today. So the first thing that I wanted to get into is code compliance. In economic development, I worked since 2015 up until I recently was promoted in July to oversee our department or our code compliance office. And one of the things that I saw when it was previously placed under police, there was a focus on the enforcement. So with enforcement, it's more of, this is the rule. Are you following the rule? If you're not following the rule, then these are the penalties, and this is how you move forward. With compliance, it's a lot more communication. A lot of times when it's the issues that we're handling, for example, it could be someone not cutting their grass. If you have a citizen who tends to cut their grass on a monthly basis, and then 1 month it comes along and their grass isn't cut, the enforcement part of us would say, well, they need to get a ticket and they're going to see them in court, where the compliance part of us says, what's going on with the citizen? Why are they now not cutting their grass? Is there something that they may need assistance with? Is it that they're out of town? Are they sick? Is it that maybe they got in between yard cuttings? And we want to be able to have that relationship where people will voluntarily comply instead of being forced. I think with all of us, if you're given the option of someone working with you and coming to an agreement versus someone trying to force you into something, typically the compliance and that communication will give you the response that you're really seeking. Another thing that we focus on here with College Park is apartment suites. We operate bi-monthly apartment suites. And what that is we go to any multifamily property within the city. We go and we just pick one out of a hat, and we want to make sure that they're in compliance, meaning are their gutters clean? Are the trash, is it picked up? Are there derelict vehicles on the property? Do we see evidence of rodents or of neglect? Are there broken windows? Things that are obviously against the code that have a direct impact on the livelihood of our citizens. I'm sure that we all can think of vacant property or vacant home or abandoned building. And studies have shown that over time, these deficiencies actually have a mental impact on residents. You begin to not have the empowerment that you should have in your community because you become accustomed to seeing the blight. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that not only our residential single family are in compliance, but we also want to make sure that our renters are in compliance too. Another thing that we've done, and this has been a very departmental effort, is a hotel suite. With City of College Park, we are home to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, as well as we are home to 34 and will soon be 35 hotels. We have millions of visitors each day at the height, prior to pandemic. And we want to make sure that whether you're living or visiting College Park, that we leave a good representation of the city that you're coming to. So making sure that it's safe. A lot of these properties that we're doing the sweeps on have had several calls from the police department, whether it's issues such as solicitation, whether it has been narcotics, some have even had rape. And we do not want visitors coming into our community, nor do we want potential hazards staying here in the community. So we collaborated with the Fulton County Board of Health, College Park Police Department, inspections, fire department, and also the Department of Homeland Security to perform the sweeps so that we can ensure that these properties are being touched and being really observed as they should be, and as they really would be by any visitor or citizen. Another thing that we're focusing on is nuisance abatement. What nuisance abatement is it's when you have a property that is really reaching for your attention. And I'm flashing my hands because that's how bad some of them are reaching for attention. I'm going to call some out. So let's say the old Target site. I know you all see it, 5025 Old National Highway. This is a property that I receive calls on a weekly basis regarding litter. This is also a property that has had some issues, whether it be with police being called there or cars being broken in, things that are a pull on our resources. So what I look at nuisance abatement is it's like having a classroom and everybody's behaving, but you got the one child that really wants your attention. So for the properties that really want our attention, we're going to either A, make sure that you're in compliance and that you're following all the rules to the T and making sure that that owner is responsive to the property, or B, we're going to find you and we're going to make you pay for that attention that you're taking away from the rest of the city and the rest of the properties, because it is not fair to our responsible property holders, those who choose not to be responsible. Another endeavor related to code compliance is back in February. We, along with the Department of Code Compliance for City of South Fulton, participated in the Vacant Property Leadership Institute in Austin, Texas, offered through National League of Cities. In this institute, we really learned about the importance and impact that vacant, blighted, dilapidated, or abandoned property has on a city. Basically what it is those properties are not put into the tax rolls. Typically, you're not receiving the funds that you would receive if it were a maintained property or if it was an inhabited property. That, as well as it's not a property that is adding to your community. If anything, it once again is draining on the resources because you're now having to worry about vagrants, you're having to worry about police being called there, maybe even public works having to go and cut the grass to assist. So that once again is draining on our current funds. Whereas if that home could be taken and placed into a land bank or a similar structure, it could be reintroduced to the community as an inhabitable location or as a potential commercial business. What we did do after VPLI, we have created a stronger connection with City of South Fulton. I work now hand in hand with your department, or I guess the Director of Code Enforcement, Bryant Morris, to make sure that we are connecting and we are talking about the properties that are not only in both jurisdictions, but nearby both jurisdictions. Because if City of College Park allows our property to decline and deteriorate, your homes are right next door. So the next thing that's going to be looking to deteriorate would be the value of homes in City of South Fulton and vice versa. And we want to be good neighbors to each other. So to do that, we've established a well working relationship. We actually are working right now on property 3100 Godby Road so that we can work together to assist them to get into compliance, if they want to get into compliance, because that enforcement is always an issue or always an option. The next thing that we're working on for community development, as I stated, I'm one who really wants to go and strengthen the community. So with the community development aspect, through VPLI and the technical assistance, we're looking at ways that we can help to increase attainable housing in our community. When I say the word attainable housing, I use it very specifically because everyone needs to be able to attain housing. When we say affordable housing, for whatever reason, it comes with such a negative connotation that people automatically assume that we're talking about, housing authorities or Section 8, when in reality, workforce housing, for example, for a police officer, a firefighter, or a nurse that works 40 hours a week, is still not financially attainable these days. And we want to make sure that all of our citizens have a place in the future of our city. So to do that, we are looking at how can we reuse those vacant, abandoned, and dilapidated properties and bring them back as inhabitable properties for our workforce and for all of our citizens. The next thing that we are looking at is civic dinners. We are working with Out of Hand Theater to do civic dinner. So what a civic dinner is, specifically with Out of Hand, is they provide a theater. It's kind of like a play, a meal and a show, I guess. It's a dinner and a show, but the show talks about specific community and social issues. In September, we will be hosting them, and their focus actually this year is the 1906 race riots that happened here in Atlanta. And honestly, it was something I was not aware of. I don't think that we in Atlanta talk about our true history enough. And this is helping to talk about it and bring people from different communities and backgrounds together so that we can discuss some of our social issues, whether it's social justice, economics, equality, or just to be able to discuss how you feel about the inequality that is there. One personal project that I have greatly very excited to work on is the Old National Mini Museum. I have not really grew to encounter art until well into my 30s. The art that I knew growing up was what you got from TJ Maxx, the beauty supply store, or the last prayer supper that you see in your grandma's kitchen. And it wasn't until really going and moving here to the Atlanta area and being able to meet individuals that had art in their homes or going to visit galleries and museums that I began to have appreciation for the art and the artist. So with the Old National Mini Museum, the focus is truly on the culture of Old National. There are so many stories that I've heard about Old National and how it used to be, how it was where all the football and basketball players and flight attendants and pilots wanted to come and eat and live, where there was Shoney's and there was a Denny's and, a record playing store and all these things that you really don't see anymore. I mean, when I look around, typically what I see is the Piccadillys, but most of the things that are discussed in those narratives no longer exist. And as the development continues to move forward in the corridor, some of those places that currently exist will exist no more. So what we want to do is we want to focus on the things that were important of the culture to Old National so that we can have an appreciation for our past and to help tell that narrative as we move into the future. So coming up this month, we are going to be hosting a charrette where we bring together our community advocates and really our community representatives to just discuss and talk about Old National, to give artists ideas of what pieces will be included in the museum. Once again, this museum is going to be a small passion project, but it will give us art for in the future that can be placed within one of our recreation centers and can be moved around to tour between City Hall and various locations in the city. It also will teach our residents to not only appreciate art, but that art appreciates in value, and that what we pay today will have a different cost or a different value in the future. Moving forward, we also received a grant for Trees Atlanta. We were able to plant 56 trees next door to our Tracy Wyatt Recreation Center, and it actually is behind our second precinct. One of the issues that I find with College Park, specifically for our area in the corridor, is there's no access to green space. there's no access if you want to go out and just walk a track or just sit outside and really read a book amongst nature. We don't have that opportunity. And I think if anything, COVID has really shown us that we need to be more connected with nature, and there needs to be more opportunity for us as individuals to have recreation, whether passive or physical, and that there is a greater appreciation to be able to be amongst it. On this tree planting, we did include some native trees of Georgia. We also included some fruit-bearing trees and bushes. So we hope that when, next spring comes, we'll be able to invite all out to go and gather berries and some pecans and pawpaws, because that allows you to become one with the project, and as well as to come and visit it and just enjoy yourself for the time. Lastly, one of the things that we have been working on, and I've been working on heavily, is creating a nonprofit collective. A lot of times, in all honesty, you know what you know. And the best thing to know is that you don't know everything. And as it comes to nonprofits, they are my go-to as to who is having issues in the city. What are the issues that people are encountering? Is it workforce issues? Is it hunger? Is it, access to capital? They are really our first kind of responders when it comes to those in need. And we really need to rally them together and really seek from them what they need to be able to expand their offerings to the community. I wanted to show you some of the renderings and information as related to ongoing projects we have. So at the end of Godby Road, I want to say is going, if that's south, then going west, the side going towards a discount mall, basically at the dead end of the road, there will now be a 29 tiny home community. So this is actually, it already has broken ground. They currently have sold out. So this will be fully purchased. They are actually looking to expand further into the area. But these are homes that are no more, there's some that's ranging from about 750 square feet going up to about 1,000. And these homes went for about 170,000 per home. So that just gives kind of a range of where trends are going. People are really moving to smaller units, but pricing still is, pretty competitive there. Another one that I wanted to discuss, and I will switch to show the renderings, is the Summersby Project. So that is on the other end of Godby Road off of West Fayetteville. It is right there next, I want to say it's North Clayton Elementary and Middle School, but that currently is going to be 244 units of workforce housing. It does include a commercial out parcel. And once again, workforce housing is housing that focuses on individuals who are currently, working 40 plus hours a week, but unable to retain housing. So it does offer somewhat of a discount. Give me one moment and I want to show. Okay. Are you able to see the renderings? Okay. I'm gonna stop.
PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you. Let me go back. I want to show you the renderings. Okay. Thank you. So this is the rendering. Thank you. This is the rendering for the Summersby Project. And then as you see, it is a very walkable community. It will include outdoor play areas for youth as well as for more of our aging community. It will have community room as well as the commercial out parcel, which they are seeking some of, like maybe a smaller grocery store. To date, we have not seen or received that commitment as far as for who the name will be, but it is under plans. All right. Thank you. And so lastly, I just wanted to provide my contact information. I can be reached. The best way to reach me is on the office, the cell, or email. They're really each, I reply to all three. But I also want to open the floor if there's any questions or if anything that you notice. I tend to know a lot when it comes to College Park.
Oh, well, I just want to say that this awesome presentation, I just tell you vision and having that ability to see far ahead into the future and looking what trends are, things are trending. And so, and to operate on one accord, particularly with the workforce housing, as nurses, I think, they qualify for that too, correct?
Correct.
And also, and what are y'all doing for y'all technology or like solar panels or looking into that field or that area with any of your developments?
So I can't say specifically, I don't have a development offhand, I would say, that is leading the way as it comes to technology. With the tiny homes, they are looking to be more of a sustainable community. So doing more composting, more urban gardening. I think they also have like a bio type of detention pond. I will say, as far as for the technology advancements, more of that has been seen in some of the smart city approaches within the Main Street corridor, but we are looking to solidify that more towards the south end as well.
Now when you say tiny homes, see, that's a little that I love that. I love that as there was a development that was attempted, and they use the word tiny, and it was like just a disagreement of not having the same visual concept of seeing what's into the future. But now that this has come along, hopefully people can understand what it was, because we would have been first. We would have been first. I'm just saying, but hey, if
I know, I totally agree. I know that someone came and told me they had looked at y'all first too. So, but
all I'm saying is we welcome y'all with open arms. Cause see, if you ain't first, you last. In the famous words of Ricky Bobby. Okay, I'm just saying. But however, I champion that, like I said, and that I like it for the fact that so close by, people actually can see the tangibleness and go by and see what that community like that looks like, and understand that housing values, they're not going to decrease at all, because the value will increase in some cases as these communities. It's not going to be just stick one inside an existing community, but they have to be communities as a whole. And as you said, it's pre-sold out. And I saw y'all on broke ground, broke construction. And so,
to add as well, that they do have a model community in Clarkston. It actually is kind of the model of what this one is kind of a it was upon the creation of Clarkston. They came up with the ideal and they did it, and now this is kind of a duplicate of it. But when I went and saw the original development in Clarkston, it really is shocking what you can do with with that size of a home. And also trends are really showing that people are wanting to move smaller. We're not wanting the micro mansions. We are wanting to look at more housing opportunities. And the more that we allow, diverse housing options, whether it be allowing duplexes and triplexes and quads, that we'll be able to have more of a inclusive community, which is always stronger for our community.
Absolutely. Will Johnson and the Micro Life Institute.
We losing Councilman Reeves, but Jane has her hand up.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Hello, can you hear me?
Your screen you were freezing up.
Trees.
Yes, so Councilman Reeves, if you don't mind. So I just want to say, congratulations and kudos to College Park and to you for the hard work that you all are doing, to come into the 21st century. You are absolutely correct about the trends and about what people are wanting, as far as smaller houses. People are not even wanting to, people are giving up a lot these days. And I think the pandemic has helped with that, to show that, you can do more with less. And so I just want to commend College Park for, taking on this challenge and, for showing us what can be done, and that we can do it in our own communities. As a candidate running for office, I see a lot of this because I'm between two counties, Fulton and Fayette. And when I ride through some of these communities and I see, the amenities and some of the housing that the seniors have, duplexes and, it's just amazing. It's amazing. So kudos to College Park and to you, Miss Hall Garrison.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And so, and let me just say, I appreciate you sticking to the commitment and coming on today, because as the development is the topic of discussion today. As to repeat and regurgitate your words from earlier, we got y'all, we have your mentor as now our ED for Economic Director, Development Director for the city of South Fulton. And development as ribbons been cut, site plans will be developed. And can you just say something about a footprint that this ED has put in place on College Park to spin and turn around the development and all of the things that y'all have going on that's leading up to now? And please, for the edification of the people on this call, just let folks know what's going on with the Target building, because they saw it torn down. They just want to know, and you are the subject matter expert to give that information. So thank you.
Yes, and I see Sheila's hand, so I'm gonna answer that and then I'll answer her. So I wanted to say the Target site is one that I am passionately working on. It honestly took me about 2 years of I want to say frustrating the developer, but getting that to be torn down. Right now, we have cited him honestly on a daily basis. I am looking to kind of continue getting his attention. He also has began cleaning up that rubble and debris on the property, but had done so without a permit. So he was stopped and then advised to go through the permitting process. So you will begin to see that cleaned up more, but please know we are not letting go. We are not letting up until it is all the way clean. And I did want to add, so as you know, Councilman Reeves said, you all are getting my mentor. Mr. Artie Jones III will be your Director of Economic Development. I cannot say enough about him. Honestly, he was the one to be able to support me in these type of ideas and creations that I spoke about today. And without his leadership, I would not be doing the things that I did. So I really say that to say that you have a lot of good things coming, and he is a great one and very knowledgeable to follow his lead. So I am sad for me, but I am so happy for you all, because you get the best economic developer. Yes, and I wanted to acknowledge Sheila. Yes, ma'am.
You just answered my question about the Target property.
Okay, yes. And feel free to, if you want to email me or call me, once again, my email is tgarrison@collegeparkga.com. As I said, we are actively monitoring that property on a daily basis because it is an eyesore. And as stated during the presentation, you do not realize the impact that blight has on you and your community, and just individually your mental health, that we become so accustomed to it. And it should not be something we're accustomed to. Is not acceptable anywhere else. It should not be acceptable on our part of town.
Okay, no go.
And Miss Wanda?
And so,
Hi, this is Wanda Lewis, and I apologize to everyone. I came on a little bit late, and I hope I'm not going to ask you a question that you already covered. But what's going on with the discount mall? Is that going to be remodeled, or is it going to run? That plaza going to remain as is? Do you know?
Sure. So recently I did meet with the owner of that property. The owner of the discount mall is also the same owner as the old Target site, 5025 Old National. He is currently proposing to do a mixed use development. So something similar, I would say, to Atlantic Station is what currently is being proposed. I will say that that is conducive with the plans that have been under review for the Aerotropolis Blueprint 2.0, as well as with what City of Atlanta is seeking, excuse me, seeking to develop on their 150-acre property. So at this point, that's what's being proposed, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Ms. Tasha, this is what they ask you is because this is imperative and important. As the day Mr. Arter takes office and, call you, I need y'all to incorporate, engage, and just march right on into the table with Marta on that BRT. And please have them not come down the Gobby Road to make the left, because the highest ridership is when you continue on down. But also we want to continue that down to 138, but also take the train from the airport, the land in this development that they just did a ribbon cutting for, because that's going to be key, as transportation is going to be the issue. But a lot of people are unaware of this. So you had mentioned it. Okay, the 150-acre tract that she's talking about for the City of Atlanta, where the old Kroger is up on the corner of Gobby Road and Old National, behind there, all the way down, is 150 acres, and there was an actual rendering. And if that 150-acre development actually ties in to development that BBI Investments they did a ribbon cutting on Friday for, and with the mixed use development. So as you see, transportational area-wide has to be increased, because these are coming and they're going to be developed. But we have to get Marta at the table now, because the talks are going on right now.
Correct.
So
and they're seeking to execute that. I'm sorry. They're seeking to execute that in 2026. So it is coming. These plans are coming. And if anything, is the community ready? And we're working really hard to make sure that the community is going to be ready for that.
Absolutely. And then we're fighting with Fulton County, because they need to go ahead and upgrade the infrastructure. That's on them. They need to do it. And so we will empower y'all to go out and working together, see, collaboratively. That's what we do. And but yes, ma'am, I'm excited. You excited?
Councilman, you say you excited, but then we get emails from other council members saying that this was not even approved. They were not invited to the river cutting. It seems like it's something that's some people know about it on the council, other people don't know about it. It hadn't been approved. It hadn't even been brought up at the council. They haven't even approved the budget. I mean, the money that they said they was putting into it. This is what I'm reading on some of the newsletters that's coming from the other council people. So what is going on with that? Why is it that there's a dispute going on somewhere with that ribbon cutting and all of that happened on last Friday?
Miss Sheila, check this out. And we are going to dive right on into that. But I wanted to have this first and let folks have the full understanding of everything that's going on in the area, why the development out there makes sense, and why these things is coming for the perfect timing. And there are some hiccups, but we're going to get into that. But I did want to give Ms. Tasha the opportunity for the first half, so we can dive right on in, because
Well, actually, Mr. Farrell had a hand up first.
to clear everything. Yes.
Yeah, so I appreciate hopefully the redevelopment of that area of College Park, but also what is going on with the shopping center that is on the other side.
Al, you kind of went out. Hello? Al, you on mute.
Mr. Farrell, unmute.
Oh, sorry. It says I'm unmuted. Okay.
Yeah, you're on mute
Hello?
now.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. I said, what about the shopping center on the other side of 85 on Old National? That is, the parking lot is jacked up. I mean, what's the plan with that one? You know, it was great that we're getting Old National Mall possibly getting redeveloped, the Target's getting, redeveloped or the old site for that. But what about that part of Old National? And,
So the service merchandise plaza, what you're
yes.
referring to? Yes. So right now, I will say I'm aware of the condition within the corridor. I've really been focusing on those big safety issues and eyesores. I will say, as far as there is some work needed to be done on the service merchandise plaza, as far as the parking lot, some of the issues that we were having as related to safety issues have been alleviated somewhat because of the businesses that were located there are no longer there. We have had the old theater recently was purchased by Candy Burris, and she is seeking to do a family entertainment center there. So I think as these developments come, we'll begin to see more changes in that portion, as well as under Artie Jones, who, as we stated, is going to be your new economic development director. We actually began a TAD number 2. So tax allocation district number 2 would allow for funds or extra tax would be levied against property within that area. If approved, it would need to go before the Fulton County School Board as well as Fulton County itself. But if approved, taxes generated within that area could be used to fund infrastructure projects, and that would help to bring more development into the corridor. So there are some structures and some tools that we're kind of bringing to play and putting in our toolbox to be able to help revitalize it a little quicker and be able to see more of those beautification changes. But in all honesty, it's on the list, but there's just been some heavier concerns before getting to those.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any more questions for Ms. Tasha? Well, Ms. Tasha, we're not sad that we are getting your mentor. It's probably going to be a good thing that he didn't go across the country. He's just next door so that the two of you can actually work together. So you just expanded your area.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, it will produce a lot of good work because now we have two very like-minded people on both sides of the fence doing the same work. And honesty, even without me being here, Artie is going to help South Fulton to progress and rise to the levels that you all are really seeking to do with development. So I'm so happy for y'all. I'm sad for me. I'm just happy for y'all.
Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank
and we'll
you
look
all.
forward to anytime. Please come back and give us any updates whenever you want.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And so I can't wait to see you again. We're going to do a big one when we come in person and have Artie and you guys together. And so, as you said, one key thing is like mine. And I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invite. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, people, we're going to dive right on in. The question was asked over there, what are we getting this and that and third? Because I'm going to give it to you in the sequence that this happened. I was scheduled to be out of town months ago for this weekend. So I was just stuck to my plan as I was on a personal note. But I will say this, we learned of this ribbon cutting. There was a mass mailer, a citywide mailer that went out. Y'all got the mailer. That's when we learned about this meeting that was happening on Friday. That early in the day, it was going to be on Wednesday. I mean, that's a real fact. The same developers, they came to the March meeting when we was at Burdette and presented what they wanted to have as a rendering and what they were going to fulfill as their contractual obligation and conditions that was them contingent upon acquiring the sites. So, and that was upgrade to the parks. And so that's what the ribbon cutting actually was supposed to be for. And then somehow went into the development of that. But as everybody asked, I said, show me a site plan. I don't get excited about renderings. I don't, because it's just that, a rendering. A site plan makes it real. Everybody in construction, anybody in construction knows because that's when you put the money on the table, all chips in, and we have something that's actually tangible. So the ribbon cutting started that process as they're developing a site plan for the renderings that they showed out there to the people. So, and they came and says, council has to vote on the upgrade to the park. I don't see what the confusion is. If they're gonna upgrade the parks, get with our park master planning out there, fit in that criteria and upgrade the park. I mean, it's not our dime, it's on us. Let's unwrap the gift and progress forward, because they still must start on this development, which is the biggest deal. But me knowing one thing is other developments that was taking place. Transportation is the key item. Transit-oriented development TODs are being developed. That's also will include workforce housing, senior housing, living areas, cottage home living. I told y'all I can't just let that disappear, y'all. I wanted to be first, but hey, however, neither here nor there. It's going to incorporate everything that's going to be needed. Plus, I'm asking for a pedestrian bridge to go over Old National to tie in. And as stated, that because of my involvement with these projects in other cities, Atlanta and College Park, like this is over 10 years old. That was coming. This development makes sense, man, that is going on and going to be taking place. And because I promise you it was coming. And so we would be remiss not to be a part of the new wave. And I know more because when they were showing the development, they didn't show the other city, the two other cities. Some people call it a twin city. What they was doing to make this work, and it's like single narrative. I like to present the whole entire story, and just by coincidence, she was scheduled to be on today. And I'm
Councilman
glad
Reed,
she
you're breaking up.
was, for all the reasons that you just heard. It is Mr. Artie Jones, what she said about the tabs, they got a tab too. We have a West Side tab already in existence, things that cannot happen if these two things do not happen.
Councilman Reed, you were breaking up, and I'm gonna pull up the picture from the Friday event.
Can you hear me? Can you see? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so
I pulled up one of the pictures from the event Friday.
right. So a rendering that looks good. Okay, cool, great. It's exciting. It looks good. Give me a site plan and I'll, dance in the street, because that makes it real, tangible, existing, and you can get milestones with that. So, but the site plan has not been developed. So we'll be clear on that. It's got to be developed. It's being developed. It's going to take us working together with that. But it's going to take staff and the developer. Let me be very clear, staff and the developer to come together with our parks, with and the community that is directly affected, and the community at large, the benefactors, you guys, to come together and make this thing a reality. It can happen. It's happening around us. And I'm just quite frankly tired of seeing things happen around us and we late to the god doggone party. That irritates me, because vision, you have to see ahead of the game. As I promise you, I'm not for today. We have to look at tomorrow and set up, and put this city on track to meet tomorrow's needs today. So I'm thinking 20, 40, 60, 100 years down the line, as transportation and infrastructure upgrades is key things. And there's other funding. I'm getting ready to have a meeting to put staff in connection with so we can get this infrastructure upgrades that's needed. If we're not talking about them two things, we're not talking about this project materializing. I can care less about the politics of the situation. That's crazy. But the thing is, this development, break ground on this development, and you'll see everything that people have been asking for that's going to come. And it's still, will it mitigate our sanitation issue? Will it mitigate CSX thinking the God complex being stuck on the track? Not really, but it can give us a little leverage that we can look at and bring to the table, because it will give us other opportunities and other doors and enter into those conversations. That's the reality of the situation. So,
Ms. Miller Map has a question.
yes, ma'am, Miss Map.
Okay, I didn't hear everything that you were saying because you were going in and out, but I just want to be clear. You said this is just a rendering, and so it sounds like it's something that a group of, I guess, some investors want to do. There is no developer on board yet. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
You
help
got a
me out.
developer on board. They broke the ribbon cutting, so now that they can bring in the engineers, the civil, to come up with the architects, to come up with the actual site plan on what they're going to be building out there to the parks and upgrades that they're going to make to the parks, and then be working on their site plan on the actual project itself.
So all the parks, I think I remember an earlier meeting some weeks ago where the parks were discussed, but all the pretty buildings that are standing there with that was not in that original conversation, was it?
No, because see, that's the actual development that the development authority, we conveyed the land to the development authority to seek out a deal, and they closed that deal that day. And that's why they had the buildings up, because they closed the deal. Now they're ready to make the upgrades to the park, because they said they'll make them first, and then they'll start on the development. But let's make no doubt about this now, because see, the development authority is responsible for the bonding, and I want these projects fully bonded, which means that along with the site plan, come hell high water, they go broke, belly up, whatever, that bond ensures this get completed and we're not stuck with half-done buildings. That's a key fact.
And all the land has been acquired?
Yes, ma'am. To our knowledge, that's what the development authority conveyed to the council, to the DS.
And that's for, I think I see 11 structures. No, I see 12, 13, 14, 15 structures. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
So let me just say this. Let me just say this. If you was just chiming in, Ms. Tasha came up from College Park, and then Atlanta has the 150 acre tract going behind, starting from Old Kroger all the way down the Siri Trail, which, if you look from an aerial view on a future and include both cities in the development what they have coming, you would now look and says, oh, this just makes perfect sense. And so, but like I said, two things, because Marta's in talks right now, and they are coming down Old National. Here's the problem. They get the Gobby Road and go left and don't continue on down. And so we're trying to get them to go all the way down to 138, but more particularly because this can be a transit-oriented development, is to get the train from the airport extended down to this development, because that would make sense. And that would be a game changer. And Mr. Artie Jones, I tell you, and so, because he was involved with Aerotropolis, and I do know when you get involved with Aerotropolis and you get you bring all options to the table. Mr. Al, correct me if I'm wrong, sir. But what do you? Hello.
Go ahead. And when you're done, Ms. Williams has a question.
I'm gonna speak specifically to Al, because about the zoning, and what are you thinking about that, bringing that, and then being zoned to materialize, and how effective that would be for the city?
Well, no, I agree. I agree with you. I think that one, it takes a collective, meaning that all three cities, since they're so closely affixed to one another, looking at like that's how you bring smart growth from transitioning from one city to the next city. It should look somewhat uniform when you border one another. So hopefully, those developments come about. I do agree that with respects to MARTA in some kind of form or fashion, whether it's rail or the bus, like the light rail during the middle of the meeting, like they're trying to do downtown, I think in Peachtree Street or some of those other ways, some kind of form of modal transportation. So I think it's definitely a starting point. And you look at 10 years down the road. So remember, what we see today, or what we're talking about today, is 10, 15 futuristic as far as what you want that area to look like. It doesn't mean it's going to take that long. It just means that's what you want to see. You want to be able to see people walking and playing in a mixed-use development. I was just telling my wife about that mixed-use development about 30 minutes ago, and I said, man, I hope it comes through, because remember, back at one point, Old National was a nice spot to go to, from various reasons. The hotels were nicer, at that time and things of that nature. So yeah. So I think it's gonna, I think it sounds good. It sounds promising. Hopefully they can get the other side of the Target situation squared away. I think that's gonna be a big help, because now you see that stuff off the highway. And so when people see that type of environment coming through, traveling back and forth, wherever they're going, what do you want to do? Oh man, let's stop and go see what's going on over there. Whether it be get something to eat, entertainment. She said Candy Burrs and her family bought, that one spot. So if they can do something, so they're looking down the road. That shopping center looks like a mess today, but they saw something in the future of Old National at some point to say, hey, let's go ahead and invest our money in a future term goal, so.
Version 2.0, sir. And let me say this, people are not hounded down trying to buy your property, do this, that, and the third for no reason. As I don't get scared, I don't buy into it. Look at Cabbagetown, look at Edmond Park, look at Reynoldstown, look at Old Fourth Ward. Go back in the history books and you'll see the same narrative was sold. And then now you see what it is now. I'm not being fooled. As understand something, the area is a 3-city, 1 area development of walkability, sustainability, future technology, a hub. All I'm saying is that patience, because it's gonna have to, that's what it's gonna take, because you have to see it materialize. It's not gonna be overnight. This is a journey. This is 18 holes ago, and we have not even came up to the driving range. So understand that it's a process, but we have to be and have vision and understand the totality of what's coming, and not just one thing, but it's a 3-in-1. I call that the trifecta, the Trinity. As it will work, it can work, but we just need to all work together to ensure the success.
You have a couple of comments?
Yes, I am all about the comments because I hate to hear myself talk.
So one of them is permitting needed to convert single family homes into rooming houses? Cannot get anyone to answer from the city of South Fulton. Infrastructure is always left off the table.
Right. No. I was
I'll
having a
stop
call
because there's 2 parts to that comment. So I'll stop on the first part.
well, the first part is a permanent need. There is a way of code to crack down on it, as I will be having the community leader from another area within the city who has been successful in getting them out. So that's going to be under a separate call with the HRA roundtables to take back to your communities on how to get them out. So we're going to be doing that as well. And so, yes.
The next part was infrastructure is always left off the table, Councilman Reeves. Where is the 64 bay warehouse being built?
See, get this. And y'all already know on Stack, I just tell you, it was Friday was the worst day for me. As since that thing popped up on the consent agenda, I've literally been stressed out on just the thought process of every single day about the decision the court rendered and granted them mandamus that on Stacks Road. But it ain't over yet, because see, we're gonna exercise every possible action, and I'm gonna have to get some help from other cities who have a wherewithal and a resolve. So because where there is a will, there is a way. And it's almost been a year, but I can't even explain it. But so yes, that's on Stacks Road, but it's not over.
All right, Ms. Harvey has a question concerning the 911 system. Go ahead, Ms.
Yes.
Harvey.
Ms. Harvey, you might be on mute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I have, excuse me, I have a concern regarding the 911 system. I'm a resident in Williams Bluff, and we had an incident this past Thursday where a gentleman that does not even live in our community, but he has a relative that lives in our community. He had a mental episode. He shot up someone's house 20 to 30 times. He kicked in 2 other neighbors' doors. Then he was jumping on cars, breaking out the windows. And it took the police over 45 minutes to get to us. And that is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. So, and my husband, when he was calling, he was getting transferred to the Atlanta Police Department, College Park Department, but who comes out here? South Fulton. So and I asked the officer, I said, what is the problem? What took you guys so long to get here? And he was saying it was a jurisdiction issue.
Okay, so Ms. Harvey, there's absolutely no excuse. And I wish I could tell you something different, as this is an issue. We are South Fulton. We are in the technical boundaries of the city limits. It should not be a problem. That's why we are looking at bringing in our own 911 system, is for that very reason. Is because lines get crossed, things get.
Corey, I can interject some of that. I mean, my
Please
career.
do, sir.
Okay, Ms. Harvey definitely is unacceptable, but I can say, and again, I'm not knowing if, I'm just gonna assume most people use cell phones now. That being said, what has happened years ago, back in the 90s when cell phones became popular, it has to have a PSAP number, which is basically the system's supposed to know, hey, you're a 404 number, but you're coming from, College Park, Union City. A lot of times it is, we know that's your number. You're in the 404 area code or whatever the area code is, but that number is coming out of a different switch that may be across the town, across the country. And so it is all computerized. It shouldn't happen, but it does happen on occasion, because it's happened to me personally. I've called from my house using my cell phone and gotten Union City, and gotten, another jurisdiction. I'm like, no, I'm in South Fulton. I need, Fulton County. And I got Atlanta like you've done, living where I live at off Buffington Road. So it does happen. What is supposed to happen from that dispatcher, he or she really should be able to route you to the appropriate 911 system, because they have a back channel, and then go from there. As far as the delay in times, I can only say from, working in my sector of public safety, that calls are prioritized. And of course that is considered a high priority call, but it just, again, it comes down to, manpower hour, just making sure they have enough folks as part of that, to get out there. But I assure you, it was definitely prioritized. Anytime shots are fired, those are put on the list, top for an officer to get there as soon as he or she can. It just depends on how many officers on the shift at that time. On average, most jurisdictions have 8 to 10 officers, patrol officers, not including detectives, SWAT teams, special investigations. And so I'm not giving that excuse. I'm just saying, but from a technology standpoint, that does happen. And it happens whether you're on the south side of town or the north side of town. It happens even up in Sandy Springs, where I used to work at, and they have their own 911 system. It still happens. and I can say that because it happened to one of my officers when we were doing some code enforcement work.
Ms. Miller Map has a comment and question as well.
Yeah, and this is still pertaining to the same issue. And Councilman Reeves, we've talked about this many times. This was not a manpower issue. This really was an issue of, because I'm right there, right across the street from Ms. Harvey. This was it. This was a situation where the 911 operators, while they had the opportunity to actually listen to, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 of us on the 911 calls at the same time, they were not able to identify, just as Al was saying, the number of calls and where we were located. But we were there. We were able to tell them that the trucks were not in the right place. Yet they were telling us that, well, yes, they are. For instance, I live at 5690 Wisbeck. And the operator told me, well, they're right at 5690 Wisbeck. And I'm saying to her, no, they're up the street on Monahan Way, which is about almost a quarter mile away. And I could see them standing there. And I just said, please just dispatch them. I'm standing right here at 5690. That's where I am. I could see them. She would not listen. In the meantime, this event was going on. We couldn't tell, it's dark. We couldn't tell if someone was laying in the street dead. So it's not just the fact that they could not identify the 404 or 770 or whatever the area codes happen to be. I certainly get the fact that we're not on the grid because cell phone usage, but I don't get the fact that we're not getting the proper service when we're giving them, standing in the street, giving them direction of just come down the street. It's right here, and they're not listening. And there was plenty of manpower because 37 minutes later, there are, what was it, 5
the whole
or
force.
6 City of South Fulton blue lights flying down the street. 37 minutes later. So it's a bigger issue than just the 911 system, which needs to be corrected for our area. We used to be an unincorporated area. It's more than just that. It's a bigger issue. We do not have public safety coverage in this area. It really needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
It
you
does.
You have given me the top priority to get our chief on this issue, as I think we should just come straight to y'all community and the surrounding areas and hold us a little workshop there, because I think this is something that needs to be done in person, as we just do need to address this, because that's absolutely absurd this is my first time hearing about it.
Well,
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I also live in the same subdivision. I'm in the front. My name is Carolyn Emmerich. And one of the officers, I was standing outside when I heard all the commotion, asked me where the commotion was coming from. Where should he go? And that was what concerned me, because I think 911 should have told him exactly where to go if they were getting all these phone calls.
Don't worry
And
about
Corey-
I get this. This issue. I get this. I'm texting with Chief now.
Corey.
And so yes.
Hey, well, I mean, yeah, text the chief. Of course, he can definitely do a root cause analysis of what happened in this particular incident. But I don't know if the chief is he probably is getting monthly reports from the 911 center, because I did that in DeKalb County where I work at. And I literally just got a quarterly update for all calls for service for my jurisdiction, from animal control down, to kind of see, one, how many calls we're getting, in that area for a quarter, and I literally, like, from my police department, I got like 400 pages of, every address, from their system. And I know Fulton County, again, not excusing them for what transpired, but I know Fulton County, at least a couple of years ago, I thought they upgrade their system, if I remember correctly.
Hey, check this out. You're absolutely right, sir. Because I'm going to ask for the printed report. I'm going to email my commissioner. I want to get that report and I want to see, because I mean, I'm literally just now finding out about this right now, and that's not good at all. And all I'm saying is that's a whole problem. And I mean a whole problem. If and that really is escalated to my number one thing that comes us from resolve, because you shooting up a house 20, 30 times, kicking in 2 doors. This is not a good situation, as that is immediate danger, because thank God nobody's horizontal permanently from these actions, but it very well could be. And the summer is approaching, and this is the first summer of COVID relief restrictions. Yeah, this is an issue.
And you can carry your weapon anywhere, whoever you are.
I mean, just get this. Hey, put it on your hip. You know what?
And all I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna tell everyone, don't believe just because of what the new law says that it applies necessarily to us of a minority persuasion. Yes, it does in some theories, but if I were you, still renew your permit or get your permit. I renewed mine regardless. I was like, no, let me renew mine.
I mean, it's always good. It's always good to have your carry concealed.
Yeah, exactly.
You can carry your weapon as long as it's visible. If you conceal it, I think that's where the issue still comes into play.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
But gentlemen, let's not get off track here.
I'm not getting off track.
The incident itself was bad, but what exacerbated the incident for us is that we were not getting the service from 911. We had emergency vehicles in our neighborhood that did not get to the situation. They stood there. The vehicles were in the neighborhood, but they did not get to the situation. There was a frantic woman running to the fire truck, to the EMS trucks, trying to get them to come down the street to where the situation was occurring. And the woman on the phone with me is telling me, oh, they're there. They're at 5690. 5690 was not the address where they should have been, but they're telling me that they're there, and I am 5690, and they were not there.
And you're correct. I mean, they should have went, and that's a whole nother, but again, Chief Meadows can probably address that, because it's happened to me. I've called for an issue in my community, and the officers, I told them, don't even come to my house. Go to where, here's the house. I can tell you, like you just described, the house is around the corner, it's 3,000, whatever. And they still came to my house first. And I'm like, hello, I'm fine. You don't need to come here. Just go deal with the situation. Because I told you exactly what house number it is. Go deal with it. And they said, well, the 911 center gave us your address. And I'm like, they didn't have to give you my address and so it could be a training. Again, I don't know, Fulton County's 911, but most of the time they're not. If you say, hey, the address is this, they're supposed to send an officer to that specific address. That's like you saying, hey, something's happened to my mother across, within the city limits, or my family member, them coming to your house instead of going to the house in question or the address in question that's in another district. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what it almost sounds like. And I think that's part of the problem, Corey, that, you know, they probably do have some new folks in the system, you know, in the 911 center, but you may want to check with the chief and check with the 911 director for Fulton County and kind of have a conversation about that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. Chief Meadows is about to join us on this call.
Oh, great.
I had to, y'all don't even understand the absolute significance of this, the overall issue, and the significance of the isolated issue. Like, I'm telling y'all, that is a whole entire problem. And yeah, he's gonna get on so we can come and address this, because yeah, we're gonna need to see something happen.
While we're waiting for him to come on, I want to say really quickly, I just saw online today that the Old National merchants, I think, are having a Walmart reopening on Friday, May 13th, 10 to 12 p.m. on Old National. And you want to tell them about the lawn contest? Have we lost you, Councilman Reeves?
No, you have not lost me. As I'm
You want to tell them about the lawn contest?
Yes, we want to have we want to have the yard of the month. So anybody, or you know anybody in your community, your area, you will get the yard of the month, and we're going to be partnered with Go Green Communities, Keeps Out for a Beautiful Ace, and you'll get a gardening tool over there, as well as the prestigiousness of having a yard in your sign that says yard of the month. And of course, through all social media networks. And so it might reach 15 people, but hey, get this, they'll know you yard of the month. And if y'all want to participate, just sign up, and you can go to the website and sign up through that portal, or anybody in, you know, as they'll be judging. And yes, we can go. And I apologize, y'all, because I really I'm anxious for Chief to get on, because I want to hear what's going on. And so, because
he's coming now.
Yes. So I apologize, y'all. It is 7:43, but we're gonna extend this time all the way to 8 o'clock. And so do what we have to do. So I hope that's okay. And yes.
Alrighty. Chief Meadows is now joined in. I guess he needs to hear the residents' synopsis again. If you want to let them know what happened.
Yes. Thank you, Chief, for joining the call. Miss Miller Mapp and Miss
Harvey.
Please let him know what happened.
Call. He's listening.
Chief Meadows.
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing, sir?
Just fine.
We were talking about an incident that happened in our neighborhood on last Thursday. Myself and Miss Matt, and Carolyn, we live in the Williams Bluff subdivision off of Mallory Road.
Okay.
There was an incident where a guy had a mental episode. He does not live in the subdivision, but he has a relative that lives in the subdivision. Right. He did not live in the subdivision. He had a mental episode. He shot up a neighbor's house 20 to 30 times.
Mm-hmm.
After that, he went and kicked in 2 other neighbors' doors. After that, he started jumping on individuals' cars, breaking out the windows. He finally ran off, and they caught up with him eventually and had him handcuffed. And I don't know what he could have been on or what he was on, but they couldn't do nothing with him. They could not get this man in the ambulance. They had to strap him to the stretcher. Mm-hmm. But my concern is, it took the police over about 45 minutes to get to our subdivision. we were being transferred from the city of Atlanta to College Park, back and forth. And that's, to me, is just totally unacceptable.
No, I completely agree with you. Y'all gonna have to excuse me. I have really bad allergies, and it's that time of the year for me, and so my voice doesn't quite sound like it normally does. But that's been kind of an ongoing problem that I've had with us contracting with Fulton County. I don't know if the councilman told you, but we're desperately trying to get our own E911 center because I'm constantly hearing stories like this, and we certainly want to make sure that we're responding, in a timely manner, because, situations like that could have easily turned, deadly. And we certainly don't want those sort of things to happen. Unfortunately, we pay this Fulton County a little over 2.8 million per year for E911 services, and then they collect about 3.8 million off of our E911 fees. So altogether, they're getting about 5.8 to 5.9 million dollars just off the city of South Fulton. And I could tell you right now, we're not getting nearly that level of service from Fulton County when it comes to, the amount of money that they're collecting on our behalf. And so one of the things that we've been talking about with the council is ways that we can kind of invest in our own E911 center. We're taking baby steps to get there because we've changed our reporting management system, which now is with the Fulton County, and the council have allowed us to purchase our own, and that's $1 million in cost right there by itself. And so we're trying to eat that elephant one bite at a time, because it'll cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million to open up a E911 center and to do it effectively. And so we want to make sure that as we do it, we're making sure that we get the latest technology, because a lot of times when people call from cell phones, it'll route it to the nearest cell tower. And sometimes that could be Atlanta. Well, the latest technology that's in place right now has mechanisms in place, not to eliminate it altogether, because there is no technology that eliminates it altogether, but it reduces the occurrences of it. And so, we want to get there. I don't want to use the idea that we're a new city, because some police departments in some cities don't have 911 centers on their own at all, and they've been in existence for nearly 100 years. And so, but we want to be a little bit more progressive along those lines. And so that's one of the reasons I've been sitting down and meeting with the 911 director once a month to discuss some of these issues. And it's just been really disappointing. But the one thing I can say about the council is that they've been very responsive to it and allowing us to pursue that as an option.
Ms. Miller Mapp also had a comment on her experience.
Okay.
Yeah. The other concern about that, and I've heard this since the city became or came into its own 5 years ago, that we do not have that electronic system, or the e-system as you call it, and because we are not on that type of grid, it's difficult to identify exactly where the calls are coming from, because people are using their cell phones.
Right.
That's one issue of the problem, but a lot of the issues that we had that night in particular was how the operators were handling our calls. My particular situation, I was on a call 7 minutes with one such operator who, wherever she's located, failed to understand that we're here in the midst of the situation when the fire truck and the ambulance was in the neighborhood about 1/4 mile away from where the incident was occurring. And I'm standing there, I can see the truck standing there, and I'm letting her know that it's there, it's not moving. Can you direct it to this location? And she's telling me, well, it's there. He's at your location, my address. And I said, no, he's not. I'm telling you, he's not. He's on a different street. If you could just tell him to move, just to come this way, he'll get to the situation much faster, but they turned around. She argued with me and said, well, they're at your address. And I said, no, they're not, because they weren't. So we weren't getting the service level. And this is a highly stressful situation going on, and we're trying to help, but they were not listening. And I know that there were a lot of calls going on because I could see all of our neighbors. We were all frantic.
Right.
But she could have done a lot better job if she only listened. We could have gotten help directly in the situation. We didn't know, it was dark. We didn't know if someone was laying on the street bleeding dead or whatever was going on. And of course, we couldn't render care ourselves because of the excitement and what was going on with this young man.
Right. And I'm sure they told you all to stay in the house and to not go outside because.
No, I didn't hear that kind of language coming from her. That would have made sense. But what she ended up telling me is, I've got other calls, and she let me go.
Wow. Okay. Can you do me a favor? Because I know you didn't get her name or her operator number. Can you have Councilman Reeves text me your, did you call from your cell phone or are you from your home phone?
I have a cell phone.
And so I can find out who that operator is, because, you know, those are the sort of things when I sit down with the E911 director and have conversations with him about them. And they keep trying to get us to stay with Fulton County because there's like maybe 8 or 9 cities that they provide E911 service to. They provide it to Chattahoochee Hills. They provide it to Union City. They provide it to Fairburn, East Point, a lot of different municipalities, because most cities, quite frankly, don't have their own E911 center. But when I think about the level of monies and dollars that they receive on behalf of South Fulton, you know, my expectation is quite frankly much higher. You know, because of the amount of monies that they're receiving on our behalf. And so what I'm trying to advocate for is, and I know we've been talking about that for 5 years, but understand building out an E911 center, that's not a quick thing to do, because you have to think about towers that have to be built. You have to think about microwave hops and how transmission and how technology is transmitted across the airwaves. And so the whole infrastructure has to be put in place so that we can make sure that not only are we getting the messages, but, you know, I made the calls, but they're coming in, you know, timely, and we're able to get those transmissions out timely. And so all of those things kind of play into a factor when you're talking about developing a 911 center. Where are the dead spots, you know, throughout the city, because we have a lot of peaks and valleys. And if people call from those areas, will they be able to reach, you know, X number of towers? And see, those are all of the things that have to be planned and factored into the development of an E911 center. And it just doesn't happen that fast.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Chief. I understand that, but we are talking about 5 years, and I get that these things do not happen overnight. And this has been an ongoing conversation, as I mentioned earlier, since the inception of the city. And probably, hopefully, that these conversations occurred while the city was in the planning stages, because this is emergency services. You know, this was a person firing off a weapon at high rates of firing. So I imagine it must have been some sort of automatic weapon. But also in the cases of heart attacks or fire or other emergency medical situations, there's any number of incidents that could occur that this kind of time is a matter of life and death. So to hear that 5 years into the city's life, that we haven't figured this out is a concern, and we're spending millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars.
I'm not saying we haven't figured it out. We understand the process that we have to go through to make it to come to fruition. And so there's always a timeline associated with the development of that infrastructure. I mean, we understand what needs to be done, and the dollar amount that's going to be required is just, we're trying to make sure that we get there responsibly when we talk about tax dollars and that we're building out the infrastructure, because the worst thing in the world we could do is to build something and we find out that that area or something is not conducive to it. And so there's tests that have to be done and then properties that have to be identified. And so I'm saying all that to say is that it takes time. And so in the interim, what we're doing is trying to work with the framework that we have and trying to help Fulton County service us better. And one of the things I encourage citizens to do is to go to your Fulton County Commission meetings and let them know, because a lot of times the municipalities, and it's not just the city of South Fulton, it's every municipality that Fulton County service that has the same complaints. And so they receive federal dollars to build out that communication system, and they're responsible to the taxpayers just like they're responsible to the municipalities. And quite frankly, they have not been as responsive as I would like them to be. And so I guess it's we advocate as a municipality to the Fulton County commissioners, but it's not the same thing when it's coming from voters and taxpayers going to the Fulton County Commission meetings and voicing those same concerns.
Well, thank God. One thing right now is that all eyes is on Fulton County, and this is going to be a #1 major issue. As Chief Meadows,
yes,
as I'm just, you have my absolute word, sir, because as this is a issue for me, is you now have your #1 supporter,
right?
General Levitt, identify the funds out there, stats, and so we're going to be on this, and you literally have your, because get this. Ain't nothing gonna be developed if the people ain't safe. I can promise you that. And we said we're gonna have a safe and clean city. And I can promise you, sir, that that's, and I know you're doing all you can, but now that I'm completely aware of this, and this has escalated out here to the top priority, and we start tonight. And so we will have this in place and something for you. As I look to meet with you and next few days. And plus our city manager to get this resolved. And I'm gonna have this added to the retreat agenda, because we all have to agree on this, because it's a no-brainer. And our citizens need to feel safe, and they need to be able to get resolved and quick. I know that response times has been a deal, but we're gonna make this happen, sir. We're gonna equip you everything you need to have in your arsenal.
Well, we thank you all. We thank you all for all of your support. I'm really sorry that you all had to go through that. But know this, that I'm going to be sitting down with the 911 director first thing in the morning. Anytime I get these sort of calls, the first thing I do is I reach out to him. So I really would like to get your number, ma'am, so that I can reference your call in particular. And then that way he can bring up all of the other calls for the same incident, so that we can try to make sure that we review all of them and find out ways that they can get better in terms of servicing the city of South Fulton.
Okay. Council Reeves and Tamiko both have my number. Feel free to share it with Chief Meadows.
Okay, and we've also posted your email, Chief Meadows, and we posted the email for the Fulton County Commissioner for our area, Marvin Arrington. And so
well, correction.
Oh,
Khadijah Abdul-Rahman is our representative now. So that's who we were.
Switched. Okay.
No. They're running anyway. They want to make a switch map change, but she's our representative currently. So that's okay. That's
my apologies.
You want to reach out to. No problem. We just want to make that correction.
And so, do you need them to write a statement for you, Chief Meadows?
Oh, that would be
send it to you.
That would be outstanding. Yes.
Okay.
And I just text you Mrs. Miller Mapp's phone number.
Very good.
And so, yes, thank y'all. Get this. Thank y'all for making us aware. And Chief,
Yes.
Thank you for hopping on the call, man. I know short notice, but you know,
Oh, that's
as I don't call this as an emergency situation like that, but get on. But you know, and I appreciate you being around, answering, and coming on, and helping this community come to a resolve with this issue. So,
well, you know, if you call, I'm coming. So you take care.
absolutely, that's a fact.
I'll get back with you all on my findings from this.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, it is now 8:00, and I do respect time. I respect everybody's time. We're 30 minutes over, but it had to happen. As General Levitt, take 25, but we're gonna reconvene after this because we have to discuss. But thank you all for taking out the time of your day and joining us, and I appreciate that. As these conversations in real time is what happened. And trust and believe, I'm about you, the constituency, and this is your call. You call in to talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's no agenda. And this is why I set it like this, because of what just happened and transpired. So, and get this. I love y'all, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And I want y'all to enjoy y'all evening this day. And I hope everybody had a good weekend this past weekend of remembrance, reflecting, and resolving festive with your loved ones. Cherish each day with them. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reeves.